Welcome, everybody, to Buying Local Saratoga. I am your host, Mike Nelson. I'm here with a friend, an instructor, a teacher that I've spent some time with over the last few years, learning all different types of skills, actually. It's probably one of the more interesting people I know, not to toot his horn, but I guess that's what we're here to do. He's a speaker, an author, business owner, father. He holds more than one black belt in martial arts, and which means he's a pretty bad dude. Well, you would never know it though, talking to him. I don't think he's ever presented that way that I've seen. And he's also about 6'5", 250. So I don't think he really needs to. It's like that saying of walk tall, carry a big stick, or whatever that is. Like he's pretty tall and actually doesn't need the stick. So without further ado, here I'm here with James Bruchac.
All right. Hey, Mike, glad to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Man. Thanks for coming in. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
Was really looking forward to this conversation today. And Jim, you do a lot of things. You have a lot of skills. You've got a really cool background. Can you just kind of give us give us the 30,000-foot view of Professor Shihan, whatever words we want to use here, of who you are and what you do?
I guess as I would start when I do my youth programs in schools, I would say I'm an author, storyteller, wilderness survival instructor and guide, Northeastern cultural educator, as well as a martial arts instructor.
That's a lot.
That's the short tagline, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And sometimes they all connect together within a single day.
Right. I bet that's pretty cool. And it's I guess maybe just because I know you and I've been to some of your trainings, and obviously I've gone to your school at Ndakinna, which we'll talk about. It's staggering to me the amount of skills that you have, but the length of time it would take to acquire all of those skills. So I'm really, and I don't know this information, so I'm really interested in hearing a little bit too about how does one end up acquiring all these skills that you have. Most of the time, the people that have all these skills are like special forces operator dudes. You know what I mean? Like you hear all these guys and they're like, oh, well, yeah, I was in the military for 20 years and we did some crazy CIA stuff. But Can you tell us a little bit about how one becomes James Bruchac?
Well, I guess I owed a lot to my father, Joseph Bruchac, who was a bit of a Renaissance man, still is, of course. And, my dad, PhD, author, poet, but also a former Division I wrestler at Cornell University, also held a black belt and still holds a black belt in Pencak, Silat, and also nowadays black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu as well, still going at 80 years old, still training.
It's awesome.
Man of the woods as well. We're all Ndakinna Abenaki, one of the 4 tribes of Vermont, Abenaki people. So I always had a connection to the natural world, the connection to and learning martial arts, which started at a young age, as well as, hearing stories and understanding that we had that part of our ethnicity that was something different, unique, something that I didn't think, especially in my teenage years, I'd ever be a storyteller. I remember in 7th grade, my dad came into my social studies class and had a ribbon shirt on. He started playing a native song, and I was so embarrassed, sank deeper and deeper in my chair. And then he told stories, the kids liked them, but I'm like, man, I'm never going to tell those stories. I'll do martial arts and all that other cool stuff, do survival skills, but I'll never share stories. And now the joke is I share stories more than just about anything I do. So.
I got to give your dad huge props because, I don't know, I think it was like maybe a month ago I was in class and he did our warm-up and I couldn't keep up with him on the abs portion of the warm-up. He's got us doing this whole abs thing and I literally, he's got our legs up in the air. We're lying on our back. We've got our legs raised after doing all this other stuff and I finally had my legs just collapsed and he's still going, 80 years old. I'm 45. I'm thinking like, man, I got some work to do. This guy is 80 and tough.
80 going on 44.
Holy moly, man.
Yeah, so he's always been an inspiration, always been a bit of a character. So definitely, gave us a positive example.
Yeah.
And, and then when I was in college playing football, I had at Ithaca, one of my social studies teacher always did good in history and English. And I remember it was a good compliment when he used that term. You're a Renaissance man, you get good grades and you're an athlete. And I just kind of like that idea, so without thinking of that being my goal, I guess in a way, to a certain extent, that's what I've tried to or have become.
Yeah,
That's worth.
I think it's great too. I think the acquisition of skills, I think, is almost an obligation of anyone that really wants to contribute to their local community and to society at large. But and there's just so much cool stuff. Like, you can sit at home and watch Netflix, or you can go do and learn some really cool things. And that's one of the things. So let's talk a little bit about Ndakinna, because that's
Sure.
one of the things that you do there.
Mm-hmm. So, as growing up, once again, as I kind of alluded to, the stories were cool. They were in my head. I knew them. But I was really attracted to the skills. So at a young age, I started learning more about survival and tracking skills, starting with my dad and then other people he would kind of afford the opportunity for us to train with, like John Stokes, the tracking project in New Mexico, and working multiple summers there, working in his youth camps, teaching survival, teaching tracking skills. Eventually traveling to places like West Africa with my dad, and making my way around the country a lot of times in wilderness areas. So learning different survival skills, practicing different survival skills, really honing my tracking skills and connecting to people like Dr. James Halfpenny, who I've since written 3 books on, 3 Falcon Pocket Guides on animal tracking. Just, both through connections through my family as well as connections through teaching and travel. Just been lucky to meet a lot of awesome people that have added to my resume within what we do, and eventually all coming together at Ndakinna, where it's a place where, we run programs for all ages, people who want to learn everything from, nowadays stories as well, and hearing stories from Northeastern Native culture, as well as learning various wilderness skills, from how to track animals, how to survive in the woods. And so that's just all kind of come together there. We do a lot of youth programs, but we do grown-up programs as well. But boy, when I first started, I had the idea, even though at that point, I was already doing a little bit of work in the schools, telling some stories, eventually kind of caved into that and found out I wasn't so bad at it. When I first started teaching, the outdoor skills, I thought it'd be more grown-ups. And man, I was wrong. It turned into mostly kids.
No kidding.
And it's continued. We still have a high percentage of kids programs, but we offer programs for all ages.
I know, it was last year, right? That my son and I did.
Yes, it was.
The outdoor fire skills.
That's right.
Which was so much fun. That was a great, great day. And he still talks about it.
Excellent.
Which is good, yeah, because he normally just wants to sit in his room and play video games. So it was nice to get out. Yeah, get outside and learn and build fire.
And I think you were you guys successful with your fire?
We were successful
eventually.
With our fire. Yes, it took a little bit.
Yeah. You weren't the last, but you were the second.
Well, I think we were the second to last to get it. Yes, thanks, Jim. Appreciate that.
But they did survive to tell the
We
tale.
did, and it was, and I mean, we had perfect weather too, which was amazing, and just the whole thing. But it, again, just great thing to do with my son, and kind of have that and connect on something that is sometimes tough for fathers and sons to connect on. So it was great.
No better way to connect with your family than in the woods or on the mats.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, on the mats. So let's talk about the mats. Tell us about. I mean, there's just so much to unpack there, but you have a couple different styles of martial arts that you personally teach.
Yep.
And and then there's others going on at the school as well. But the big one I think at this point is Jiu Jitsu. Yeah,
Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is by far our most popular, as we kind of knew from the beginning. My start was in Pencak Silat, Indonesian style of martial arts as a kid, my primary years.
Help me understand, because you said that with your dad.
Yeah.
That's what he originally did. And I was like, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, there's many styles of it in Indonesia, and Pencak Silat has many different variants. And it's a pretty hardcore style. Hands, feet, throws. And so there was an Indonesian master who lived here for many, many years. My dad trained with him early on. And I started as a kid, got up to around the brown belt area with them. And then sports took over.
Sure.
Track and football and college and all that stuff. And my dad continued, became a master in that art. And when I got done playing football, I wanted to get back in martial arts. So there was an offshoot of Kyokushin karate called Kokurokan, which had been founded by a Kyokushin master who eventually changed the name. People would do that early on if they broke off, but it was still Kyokushin. And it was a hard, knockdown, bare knuckle style of karate, which appealed to me as, being a former football player at that point. And, rough, tough. And it was, one of the tougher styles in the day, founded by Masayama. And so I trained in that and many years, got up to 4th Dan. And then I was also helping teach by that point. And my brother in 2004, 2005, 2004, got involved in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. There was a guy out in Buffalo who was a purple belt under Carlson Gracie. He was one of the legends of the Gracie family. And a purple belt back then was like a high rank. In fact, to this day, you can still start a school. Years later, we did as purple belts. So my brother started training with him. My brother had been a wrestler as well, like my dad. And they started a school, WMY MMA. And so I went out and visited him. I tried a little grappling. It was really cool. It was very different from what I had done. I had not even wrestled. My brother and my dad were the wrestlers.
Oh, no kidding.
So I always kind of had a fear of the ground a little bit. Man. I knew how to sprawl from football, being a defensive end, so I could like stuff takedowns. But man, I didn't like the ground. But then that kind of wet my whistle and went out there and trained and liked it. And I think he was the one that told me, man, there's a jiu-jitsu black belt in Saratoga named Chad Beatty. He was like the only black belt in this part of the only few ones in New York, upstate New York at that point. And so I started training with him. And, years later, my brother came home. Chad's school moved. And we ended up having an opportunity as purple belts to start our own school. At that point, we went under what is known as Alliance Jiu-Jitsu. And, now I've been a black belt for 7 years and the school's doing great and multiple styles. So we still have Kyokushin there, 5th Dan in Kyokushin. And we also have Muay Thai.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And Don Walton, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, Donnie. We hope to have Donnie on the show.
Yeah, he'll be great. He will definitely fill you with plenty of information, plenty of jokes.
That's some jokes.
Stand-up comedian as well. But he trained with Rafael Cordeiro, King's MMA fame, one of the top kickboxing coaches out of Brazil, Muay Thai coaches and MMA coaches. And he trained with him in California for 5-6 years. Yeah. He left here one of the top amateur MMA fighters in the lightweight division, went out there and trained with UFC fighters, everything. Yeah. And kind of found out, man, he was a sponge. He could learn everything. He could fight, did well, but kind of thought, maybe I'm not UFC material. But Rafael Cordeiro, he caught his moves so well, caught on to them. He used them in a couple of his videos, teaching Muay Thai as his partner. He started helping teach there.
I got to tell you, Don taught a jiu-jitsu class. I think it was like right before Thanksgiving that I was in there. And I actually meant to send this to you in a text message. I was so impressed with Don.
Oh yeah, and he's
about his teaching,
knocking on the door of black belt right now.
Yeah, he was great. He did a great job teaching. I was like, wow. And again, I've known Don for when was Sam over at North Point?
Oh man,
was that 10 years ago now?
Almost. It was probably 6-7 years.
Yeah, and that was when I first met Don. And Don, I think at that time, was a blue belt. This is before he went out west, and he was just a joker. Exactly. So I mean, good dude. I liked him a lot.
But the guy is a sponge. I mean, he takes on technique and remembers it.
Yeah, and teaches it.
Yeah, he trained at Cabrina's out there too.
Yeah,
so he ended up training with some of the top in the world as well, and really took it all in. So. He does a lot of the teaching at our school now. Yeah. Muay Thai as well as helping out with jiu-jitsu, especially the no-gi, because, being, kind of starting out with the MMA focus, he focused a lot more in the no-gi. So he helps run that program for us. And, kind of when it's all run out of the Ndakinna facility. So when you're over there, you kind of end up doing everything by default. So Don now is helping out with our youth camps. Right. We're training him up as a wilderness instructor. But nice. He did have a background in outdoor education.
Nice.
So, yeah, he's kind of an adopted member of the family.
Yeah.
In all areas.
And is Jess still involved over there?
Jesse got really busy. He runs the 13th language at Middlebury, the Abenaki language. My brother is one of the few speakers that teaches the language in the Northeast. There are a few, but he's done a very good job of it.
Didn't he just help out on like a movie?
He's helped on multiple TV shows, Jamestown, the miniseries, Saints and Strangers by National Geographic. He helped out on the show Turn, doing Algonquian languages. So he'll be an on-set language coach.
That's awesome.
And so that really took off.
Yeah.
So, and then he was just starting to come back to train again this past spring, and he had a bad automobile accident.
Oh, that's right.
He's good, but there's still some recovery.
Yeah.
Head trauma and things like that. But you got to be careful when you allow things to heal.
Yeah.
So he hopefully will be back again more soon. So,
well, we'll keep him in our thoughts, man.
He got me into jiu-jitsu, and he
Yeah.
was always a little bit of a step ahead of me. Plus, he had the wrestling.
Those wrestlers.
Yeah, exactly.
Every time I'm in class and you give me a wrestler to roll with, I'm like, oh, man, because they just have a natural, right off the gate, they have an advantage.
Yeah. No, it's a huge advantage when you get into jiu-jitsu. It's one of the most important bases. If you have a martial art before or some type of activity, wrestling's right up there.
Do you work with like kids that are in wrestling teams, like in high schools and
Yeah,
stuff?
we get that. And it's funny you mentioned kids, kind of the same idea, when I got into teaching martial arts, first teaching the Kyokushin and kickboxing, and then later adding into jiu-jitsu, especially when my brother moved back from Buffalo after selling WMY MMA. We had the opportunity to do more at Ndakinna. And so, we had mostly grown-ups. And honestly, since COVID, everybody wanted to get their kids back into shape.
Mm-hmm.
We started getting more and more kids. We still have more grown-ups than kids, but our kids' population has greatly grown. And we do have a few that wrestle, and we also have kids that go the other way, that start, doing jiu-jitsu, and then we encourage them to cross-train in wrestling because it makes them better overall. So sometimes we'll get a wrestler, kid that wants to, but it's more like the other way around. We more send our kids that haven't wrestled yet to wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a little more common because
and then they just absolutely dominate because
they do well. Leah's son Gabe right now, he just got into wrestling and he's been doing jiu-jitsu. He's a gray and white belt. He got a gold medal already along the way, and he every day is like, oh yeah, I beat another kid that's wrestled for a couple of years. Yeah, I did one of those hip throws. I did one of those leg throws, and the coach is like, did you train before? He goes, yeah, jiu-jitsu. He goes, yeah, I can tell. So now he's becoming a wrestler as well, which will just add to his overall resume. So it's pretty cool to see, and he's excited.
That's awesome.
Listen, he always had good takedowns within jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Which is part of the game. You got to be able to, be on the feet as well.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about our school is, although jiu-jitsu is most popular, people can also train in Muay Thai.
Mm-hmm.
They can train, and we also have a judo program as well, run by the Hattons. So you can train in that. You can train in Kyokushin karate, okay? And we have guys that hold ranks in multiple styles, well, like Don.
Like Don, yeah.
Don has a black belt in Kyokushin as well. Before he came to us, he was a black belt in Taekwondo, and then he went up through the ranks in Kyokushin. He, of course, instructor in Muay Thai, and even holds a yellow belt in Judo. He did that.
Oh, no kidding.
Too. So, and he wrestled.
And he wrestled.
And he wrestled in high school. So, it's a nice combination.
So be nice to Don.
Yeah, and you'll never know it. He's such a nice
I know.
nice
Listen,
guy.
I'll tell you, I think that's one thing I've learned so well in the last 10 years is just the fact that most of the people that I know, like you, like Chad, like Don, like any of these guys that could really just tear somebody apart, you would never know it by talking to them. Like they don't come off that way. They're not tough guys. They're just, just normal people doing normal stuff.
Oh, exactly. I mean, it's like one of the famous Joe Rogan quotes where he talks about how he's trained to fight like his whole life.
Yeah.
And he's terrified to get in an actual fight because he knows how good some people are out there.
Yeah.
People that have zero training, some of them are the most excited to get in a fight.
Right.
I think, for me, when you focus it into martial arts, it should have the opposite effect.
Mm-hmm.
You should hopefully, not want to fight. A, because you're getting that positive release, you're getting rid of those endorphins, focusing them in a positive way. And hopefully you're learning some good skills along the way, which of course, if you have to use them, they'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of actually trying to start an altercation, hopefully, or at least part of the design of being a martial artist is to kind of evade that idea of even starting a fight. But of course, if something happens, you certainly know how to take care of yourself.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit, if someone's listening and whether it's the kids program or adult program and, I know that there's a lot of people that are intimidated, right, to start something like jiu-jitsu or going into it. You're walking in there, it's all these big scary people, or like at least that's the perception that people have.
Sure.
So maybe let's talk about, as people are coming in and what to expect as a brand new student.
Sure. I think it's overall the atmospheres across the board have changed a bit certainly within Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Even when I started, it was a little more of the kill or be killed type mentality. Although, Chad did a good job of controlling the water there. But it was, we were just coming out of the Wild West days, the Gracie challenges and things like that. But it's even more chill, and all levels, all genders, ages can do well within any of the arts we offer. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, honestly, can be the easiest if you just apply yourself and don't allow yourself to be intimidated. We do a good job of pairing people up with someone that's going to try to slaughter you. Just kind of do the time. If you take the time, put in the time, anybody can get good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We work around injuries. We work around age. I mean, my dad's a specimen, but he is 80 years old.
He is a specimen.
He's 80 years old, man. He's still out there, but he knows, he might not run during the warm-up sometimes. Or he'll skip certain things. So and the other thing that happens within the art is you learn how to listen to your body.
Yeah.
Maybe I won't move that way today because it doesn't feel so good. So you get to know your body. But of course, when you're first starting, you might not have those skills. So, we have good instructors. We try to do our best to, make sure it works for you. And of course, as with anything, it's not for everyone. If someone has, really serious neck or back injury and can't move anything in their body, of course. But you'd be surprised how many things you can work around if you take the time and just modify the training. And then as for the other arts, judo, a little more throwing. So honestly, judo can be harder on you than jiu-jitsu because it's more throwing. Muay Thai, limit the amount of contact, just doing the drills. You can do that. Same with Kyokushin. So tactically, almost anyone could do it, but as with any activity, there are, of course, limits to everything. And a nice thing that we do is we allow people to try out all the arts. If a week isn't long enough, we'll give you another week.
Sure.
And then you can try one or do them all. We encourage kind of focusing on one, maybe two at first, and then weaning yourself in. 'Cause it's system overload too.
Yeah.
There's a lot to learn, and learning striking is different than being on the ground. Even the cardio is different in the way your body reacts to it. So all these things take time. And so, we have some good instructors, Don, myself, and others. Scott, who runs the 7 a.m. crew, black belt in jiu-jitsu as well. Everybody kind of, we're chill. We work with you. And it's really great as an instructor to see the growth of students, kids and grown-ups, just to see how they can flourish within this art. All of the arts. But, jiu-jitsu obviously is the one we get the most people for.
Yeah. And I think I would mention too, as far as new students, I've seen not instructors, but just guys that are in the class that are purple, blue, brown, rolling with less, younger students, new students, and the abilities that they have to, like what we would call a coached role, right?
Yeah.
Where they really just soften it up and really are there for the student to help the student.
And that's the way it should be. You should be safest with the upper rank guys, okay? Honestly, the most dangerous thing you could do is to pair two brand new young buck white belts against each other, especially if they're friends. Yeah. So we really try to control that, and we usually try to get a brand new person rolling with someone more experienced, preferably with a colored rank, because they're going to respect it more. And if they don't, they probably wouldn't even be a blue belt with us. So we really stress that, Yeah. I mean, we all have ego. The old saying, "Leave your ego at the door." It's hard to 100% leave your ego at the door. But a part of it is doing that. And actually, I remember mentioning Chad when I was a white belt. I was a big dude. And I was a 4-stripe white belt, getting close to blue back in the day, back in like 2006, I believe. And I remember one point Chad told me, he goes, "Dude, let yourself get tapped out. Put yourself in trouble." Because I was always playing top, maybe smashing a little too much. And that was great advice. And I actually have to thank Chad for that, because I passed that on to my students, especially the bigger dudes. Dude, relax, put yourself in trouble, let yourself get tapped out. They all know you could beat them if you want to. So humility really comes into it too. And that's how you get better. And nowadays, when I rolled my students as a black belt, I'll often start in a really bad position.
Mm-hmm.
Still to this day, I'm a better top player. I'll start on the bottom. I'll let them start and mount. Put myself in a bad scenario.
Yeah.
And get out of it. And they get to work, and hey, they might catch me along the way.
Now, so people always ask me, I don't say always ask me, but when people hear that my kids either were doing jiu-jitsu at a young age or, or like I'm still trying to get the older two back into it. But so one question though they always have is, do you think jiu-jitsu is better than taekwondo or, any other styles? And my response to them is always like, hey, listen, I don't know that it's better. The thing I like as a father about jiu-jitsu for my kids is that you're teaching them how to not only the discipline and the self-assurance, the self-reliant factor that it gives them the confidence to be able to walk into most situations and be okay, but that they're learning a way to defend themselves and attack if necessary, but one that doesn't necessarily involve striking. So like I said to him, like if a bully comes up to my 12-year-old in school and starts being a jerk to her, she doesn't have to punch him in his nose or kick him in the groin. Like if there's a situation, she could literally diffuse the situation without ever really hurting the other kid, but still physically diffuse the situation. What would you say about that?
That's 100%. And I always like to say there's a martial art for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Jiu-jitsu isn't for everybody. Muay Thai isn't for everybody. Judo isn't for Kyokushin. Taekwondo, it isn't for everybody. So finding an art that works for you. And each martial art is good at what it trains to do. Mm-hmm. Some focus more on character development, which is important.
Yeah.
Right? Flexibility, learning to put things together. There's something you learn within every martial art. Others focus, like jiu-jitsu, a little more on, I guess we could say, practical self-defense. How to control a situation and de-escalate it in a way that you can control the other person, and you could do it in a way that doesn't hurt them at all. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the major pluses of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which, the gentle art. And the part of it that's gentle is that aspect. Obviously, there are parts that aren't so gentle.
Right.
The arm bars, the chokes, but that's a choice. If you're good at Jiu-Jitsu, you can use it to diffuse a situation without doing harm to the other person.
Yeah.
And that's a plus, especially for kids. For sure, especially nowadays, you're going to get a lot more trouble for striking someone mm-hmm. than you are maybe taking them down and just holding them there.
Yeah.
And it also gives you a way of getting out of a bad situation. I remember when I was younger, when I wasn't a good grappler, one of my friends put me in a headlock on the ground, man, and it felt awful. Yeah. And I still remember it to this day. And I'm so glad that now I've reached a level of grappling that I'm at. Even though I'm older, I still feel
none of your buddies are putting you in a headlock at this point.
I still busted my one friend who did it. Put me in the headlock again.
Yeah.
He hasn't done it. So,
he won't.
So I'm lucky to have the striking arts as well, but the one advantage of the jiu-jitsu is that. And when we teach the kids Muay Thai, we really stress that, these strikes are very effective.
Yeah.
And they can do damage. And so we really have to emphasize to them that not to use them unless it's an extreme situation. But that's where the jiu-jitsu comes in. Most of our kids train in both. So
okay, that's good.
Well, as quite a few adults.
Would you say jiu-jitsu is better for conditioning?
It's a different conditioning.
Well, I mean, it's kind of a loaded question because I ran some races over the summer and then I come into jiu-jitsu.
Whole body.
Yeah. And I'm like, I can go out and run 15 miles, but then I'm rolling for 4 minutes and
you
I'm
have constant
gassed.
Resistance, so it gets you in great shape.
Mm-hmm.
And you get those same endorphins that are released as if someone had a knife to your head and you're about to die.
Yeah.
Then you don't, or you're doing the same to them. So you get that same effect. So you're burning calories from those endorphins as mm-hmm. well as just the push and pull, the isokinetic energy, everything. It all comes together. So that's where it's nice. And
I was listening to a podcast about a guy that, it's Dan, is it Dan Holloway?
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I'm talking about? He's got the Citizens podcast and military guy, ex-military guy, but he was talking about jiu-jitsu but how good it is for your cortisol levels. And he was like, listen, he's like, if you've got a bunch of if you've got that inner tube around your waist, he's like, that's not about what you're eating, that's about your cortisol levels. And jiu-jitsu will straighten that out.
100%.
And it's just fascinating stuff.
I haven't, I lifted a lot during college. I lifted after too, especially for football. And I will supplement my training with that, but I've gone a year and a half. I haven't gone to the gym. I've lost hardly any muscle mass.
Yeah.
And that's really just because I'm on the mats moving.
All the time.
Ideally, you do it all. But when I have to choose, I'm going to choose rolling over lifting and doing the martial arts. If I can do the lifting as well, perfect. That's great. But if I can't, sticking to the training.
Sticking to the training.
Yeah, exactly.
I got to reverse that. I do the other thing. That's why I'm a 10-year.
I don't know if you're at the 10-year mark.
I'm close though, man. I'm closer than I should be.
Yeah, we have a celebrity here. This is Mike. He is one of our longest living 4-stripe white belts.
Yes.
Which, if you don't know about jiu-jitsu, that is the last stripe you get before you acquire the blue belt.
And I've been 4 stripes for at least 2 years.
Yeah.
And I've been a white belt though since North Point, whenever that was, 8 years ago.
Yeah, it's been quite some time.
It's been too long. But so what happens is, this is my thing, right? So I get work's been crazy. I'm still working out.
Yeah.
I'm just not making it over to the school.
And when you do, you wonder why you're tired.
Right. right. I'm doing the wrong lifting.
And mind you, I go back in the gym again, which I will soon.
Yeah.
I'm going to be sore. I'm going to be feeling it. But then your body gets used to it. It's just like that with training. And that's, ideally you do it all. But as we all know, it's hard to do it all, especially myself. And, nice thing nowadays, as far as myself being an author, nowadays a storyteller, all that stuff as well, I'm back in the schools again.
Yeah. So
now it's a great thing, but the martial arts program has really taken off over the last 2 years. So I'm having to juggle my time. And Ndakinna blew up during COVID because we were an outdoor camp.
Yep.
We lost the spring camp, and then the summer we had a waiting list. It's not stopped.
Yeah.
And now the martial arts, they continue to grow. Our parking lot's running out of room.
Yeah, I know. Every time I go there, it's full.
It's a good problem. And a lot of the people like yourself will do the jiu-jitsu. They'll also do some of the Ndakinna survival programs.
Yeah, I love those.
Camps.
I'm looking forward to the next ones.
Yeah, we will have one scheduled soon. I've just been juggling. It's been a good problem. I mean, I have a couple book deadlines where I'm about 6 months behind on my grizzly bear.
Oh,
so
deadlines. Live my life by deadlines. I feel you there, Jim. So it's a holiday season. Everybody's giving gifts. You guys got anything over there? I should give the gift of jiu-jitsu or?
Yeah. Give us a call. I haven't put up any advertisement for gift certificates or anything, but certainly anybody could give us a shout. They could buy a membership ahead of time. We could put together a gift certificate for them, as we do for Ndakinna. And of course, if they want to check us out online, we have 2 websites. One of them, the best one right now, is our jiu-jitsu one. We're slowly starting to redo the old one, but the jiu-jitsu one mentions all our styles. Mm-hmm. And it's easy to remember, NEBJJA.com, Northeast Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Academy. Check it out. It's heavy on the jiu-jitsu, but it mentions all our programs. And of course, Ndakinna is spelled very easy to spell, Ndakinna Center.org. Ndakinna Center.org. And Ndakinna is an Abenaki word, which simply means the land or our land. And all of these things, take place at Ndakinna. And for us, martial arts, I grew up learning that is just one of the arts of life. All traditional cultures, all peoples, if you go back in time, they had survival skills. They had storytelling. They had, music, dance. They had all these different things, including martial arts. That was just part of being a whole human being.
Yeah.
So it fits in well there, that we have the martial arts program there as well as all the other programs that we offer.
Well, it's a great property, and if you're not familiar with it, it's out in the beautiful town of Greenfield. Are you Greenfield Center over there?
We are Greenfield Center. Okay. Yes, we are.
I'm also Greenfield Center.
Yeah, right up the road. And of course, for years through Ndakinna, we ran the Saratoga Native American Festival, which the last time we had in Congress Park, but COVID got in the way of that. And last year we modified it and turned it into a harvest celebration, which we now have run at Ndakinna. Mm-hmm. And we're going to do that again. We don't push for the numbers we had with our big festivals when they were at SPAC, when they're at Congress Park. But, several hundred people, a little bit smaller show, but it's right on our 80-acre nature preserve. So there's advantages to that. so people can go there and learn a little bit more about Northeastern Native culture. And while they're there, they can hop in and check out the Jiu-Jitsu and Martial Arts Academy.
Yeah, man.
It's all there, man.
It's all there. What about social? If someone wants to find you on social media?
Yeah, you can look up Saratoga Academy of Elite Martial Arts. That's one way to do it. Or look up NEBJJ. All right, you're going to find NEBJJA. And you'll find links. There are links to our Instagram page. Our Facebook page is Saratoga Academy of Elite Martial Arts, which includes all of them. And we also have a separate Facebook page for Northeast Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So if they look up any of those on Instagram, on Facebook, they're going to find us Ndakinna. Just look up Ndakinna, Ndakinna, and you'll find a website. Find the Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff.
That's awesome.
Easy nowadays to track things down.
Yeah, right.
Just Google James Bruchac.
James Bruchac on the Google machine. Well, James, thanks again for coming in, man. I really appreciate it. Great stuff. If you're listening, check out James's social media. Check out their digital presence on their website. Look to see. And last question. Do you like first class free or something like that?
You get a free week.
A free week?
Free week, yeah.
That's 7 days.
Oh, yeah, and check out my Instagram.
Yeah.
James Bruchac Official.
James Bruchac Official. I want to be official.
I don't know why they put the official on there. I thought it just sounded cool.
It sounds official. That's great. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to Buying Local, Saratoga. And till next time.